Hey there, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. I'm the mom and I do the movie reviews. And my goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the decision for yourself and your family as to whether or not you want to spend time or money or both sometimes watching a specific film. So the specific film I'm reviewing today is called A Haunting in Venice. This spooky murder mystery is now playing in theaters, timed to release on Dame Agatha Christie's 133rd birthday. The movie is rated PG-13 and is an hour and 43 minutes. And my movie review mom grade is at probably an A minus, maybe an A even. I really enjoyed it. Let me give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out the things that I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, funny lines, interesting lines, and recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that you might also enjoy. All right, you ready? Let's dive in. So in a nutshell, I love Sir Kenneth Branagh, both in front of the camera and behind the camera. He directs this movie as well as stars in it, featuring that multi-layered mustache for his character. He also wears the hat of a producer along with Ridley Scott, Judy Houghlin, and Simon Kinberg. Supposedly, the movie is based on the novel Halloween Party by Dame Agatha Christie, published in 1969. While the whodunit book takes place in England, the movie's location is in Venice, Italy, which I love. Surprisingly, this is the very first time that a movie adaptation has even been made about the book. So there were a lot of things that I really liked about this. First of all, the cast is fantastic and includes, as I mentioned, Sir Kenneth Branagh, Tina Fey, Camille Cottin, Riccardo Scamarcio, Kelly Riley, Jude Hill, Jamie Dornan, Rowan Robinson, Academy Award winning Michelle Yeoh, Emma Laird, Kyle Allen, and Ali Khan. Everyone just does an excellent job. Now, perfectly timed for the Halloween season in the USA, the movie offers an extremely creepy setting with plenty of jumps and scares. I got to see this movie in the theater on opening night, which I don't always do that. Usually I'll get the screeners from the studios or I'll be invited to a special press screener before opening night. But I was excited. My husband wanted to see it and was super excited. And that just is how it worked out. So while walking down the hallways in this large theater, I saw a ton of movie posters, the one sheets that they have advertising creepy movies that are coming out for this Halloween season. So one thing that I really liked about this film is that it doesn't have all of the violence, blood, and gore that some of these upcoming Halloween movies are going to have. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll give you some tips for parents because there is some blood and dead bodies and that kind of stuff. Hold on for just a minute about that. But in order to get genuine scares out of the actors, the director worked with the technical department to cause things to happen without the actors knowing beforehand. And so actor Kelly Riley admitted that all of the scary moments in the seance scene scared the bejesus out of her, that they really did look shocked and surprised, which was awesome. Now, I wondered if the actors thought that was mean or if they were like, oh, that was a good one. We get to see some absolutely gorgeous images of Venice. I've been there twice now and I love its look and its feel. Now, my husband has been and he's like, oh, it looks like this old sinking city. And it is, but that's part of the allure that at some point that city's not going to be around anymore, sadly. But it is such a unique location, allowing for the cinematographer, Harris Zamberlocas, to make perfect postcard shots, especially in the very beginning of the movie. You see the beauty of Venice and you're like, oh, I want to go there. I love traveling in movies. And then the bulk of the movie is inside this really creepy palazzo, which is great for this particular film. And then finally, at the end of the movie, we get to go back outside and see a beautiful, sunny, Venice again. And in fact, there's this incredible bird's eye view of the entire city. It's just stunning. And then the palazzo's interior makes for the perfect haunted house and a contrast between the beauty and the horror. And I thought it was just so well done. Despite its very dark setting and story, there is still a lot of clever humor to be had. And sadly, the show that I went to on opening night was very poorly attended. It was actually an early movie. It was a matinee, to be honest. And so we didn't expect a huge crowd, but those who were there definitely caught the humor, laughed out loud, and then that laughter is sort of contagious. I love that part of going to a theater and maybe you don't catch something and somebody else does, and then you're like, oh yeah, that was clever. You know what I mean? So that happened many times throughout the movie as we watched it. Each scene of the movie was so carefully crafted that you could see that so much attention to detail was given by the director. And I always admire that in a director. And he does a really great job. Now, a murder mystery is perfect for paying attention to detail. There's a clever element of this dark addition to the Hercule Poirot franchise that he's very much rattled by what he experiences during the events of this story as it unfolds. He second guesses himself and is faced with questions about God, Satan, demonic forces, and the afterlife. And I don't know that we've seen that from this Poirot character before. He's usually very self-assured. It takes him a while to figure it out, but he's very confident. And so there was this vulnerability to his character that I thought was really intriguing. Now, the clues to this mystery are there, of course, but it's easy to miss them with so many other things that are happening all around the characters that distract you. I did not figure out who the murderer was at all. Sometimes I do. I can figure that out if I'm really paying close attention. And I love how Hercule Poirot is able to catch the little details in order to solve the crime. And it just makes you just admire him and his skills that much more when it's so easy to be distracted by all of these things that are happening. And he's able to really think through things and make the connections. And it's just fascinating to watch. Now, the movie poster is unsettling, but it's very well done and definitely captures your attention and lets you know this is not some lighthearted murder mystery. So let me share just a few of the things that I didn't like about this movie or just thought could have been done better or differently. Now, first of all, I don't like scary movies. And so I was worried based on that movie poster that it was going to be too scary. We went with our oldest or our youngest son. And so a couple of times I'd lean over to him and I'd be like, this is scary. He would just laugh at me. All my boys laugh at me when I say that. So if you're a fan of Agatha Christie's book and you've read it, you might be a little bit disappointed because I hear that the film only loosely follows the story. There was another gentleman sitting next to our group, and my husband was saying he had read the book too. And he's like, this is not that similar to the book. And then the other guy chimed in. He's like, I know, right? So just a heads up on that. In good news, many viewers are saying that the movie is better than the book, which you don't often hear. I mean, it's the cliche, oh, the book is always better, right? So some are disagreeing and saying the movie's better. Many scenes are visually dark. Everything happens at nighttime, mostly within inside this house, this palazzo. And so try to watch this on the biggest screen that you can. We ended up seeing it in IMAX just because IMAX was the version that was playing during the time that we were able to go. I don't think you have to see it on IMAX. I think a regular screen would be fine. But if you watch it at home, try to watch it on the biggest monitor that you can. And you're going to have difficulty if you're looking at it on a cell phone, once it goes to streaming. I like Tina Fey a lot, especially in comedy, of course, but I wasn't sure that she was entirely perfectly cast for this role. She definitely added a comedic element, and she did have a lot of the funny lines. she did it well. But I had heard that in the book that this role really was a kind of a glamorous woman, and she didn't come across that way. She came across more jaded, I think, and more of a New Yorker type of vibe. I don't know. Comment down below. Let me know if you thought this was the perfect role for her or what. Now, I wish I had been able to turn on subtitles on the theater screen. Some of the accents made it very difficult to understand what everyone was saying. And there are several different kinds of accents. So, I found myself kind of leaning in. And if you watch this at home, once it goes to streaming, I highly recommend turning on the captions. Act 3 wraps up very quickly and kind of suddenly. Things were happening and progressing. And then all of a sudden, I was like, whoa, okay, he's at the reveal. And I thought more things were going to happen. And that's probably a good sign that I was so engrossed in the movie, I didn't realize that so much time had passed. All right, now let me give you some tips for parents. Because it's rated PG-13, your kids might be interested. This is definitely going to be too scary for many children, especially young ones. Older teens might possibly enjoy it. And I know some people really like creepy, scary movies, and so they would enjoy it in that regard. We do see, however, some dead bodies. There is some blood. We hear and see some ghosts in a creepy way, and a seance is held, and many scary things happen during the seance. So for those reasons, I wouldn't recommend it for young children for sure. Some of the positive themes that are illustrated are family, the fight between or battle between power and control, supernatural forces, the afterlife, revenge, trickery, friendship, and deception. So whenever I watch movies, I take notes and I write down funny lines and interesting lines, if there are any, just simply so I can share them with you, so you can get a taste and feel for the film and the dialogue. And so I have them all on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. But here's a funny line. This is Tina Fey's character, and she approaches Poirot and invites him to go with her to the seance, and figuring out if this lady who's conducting the seance is legit or is not. Anyway, and so she goes up to Poirot and she says, I'm the first smartest person I've ever met. So to figure it out, I came to the second. And she's trying to give Poirot a little jab, because, by the way, she writes murder mysteries, and so she's kind of interested to see what's going to happen. Now, there were some interesting lines as well. For example, Hercule Poirot shows up on the scene and he says, tell the police not to worry. Hercule Poirot is on the case. And that, again, that's how confident he is in the beginning. And then by the end of the movie, he's shaken and not sure what he just experienced, and his confidence is shot. So it's an interesting progression to watch during that scene. Now, there's this little puppet show, and there's a narrator during the puppet show who says, fear makes people do terrible things. Fear is absolutely one of the themes of the film, and it's done very well. There's another conversation between Hercule Poirot. I'm trying to say Hercule Poirot's name, correctly, because I'm learning French on Duolingo. Anyway, so he's having this conversation with the lady who's performing the seance, and he says to her, I have lost my faith. And she says, how sad for you. And so there is this constant throughout the entire film, the interplay between faith and agnosticism, I guess you could say. Someone who doesn't know for sure is questioning the veracity of God and God's existence. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting conversation. And then there's a little boy who's so smart. And again, they're talking about ghosts. And Hercule Poirot says, you have sympathy for the dead? And he says, some of them are my friends. And then later or earlier, he says, some things can't be seen. And in many ways, he's teaching Poirot about some of these types of things. And then another point, or another time, again, Kenneth Branagh's character is so delicious. Herculeplerosis, battle scars are not always of the body. And so again, there's this physical world versus the unseen world throughout the entire film. Anyway, I just really enjoy that. Okay, so before we go, let me give you recommendations for 2 films that you definitely should watch. Maybe you've already seen them. They're kind of a no-brainer. If this is the very first film that you've seen of Kenneth Branagh in this role, then of course I want to recommend The Murder on the Orient Express, and where he introduced this character, and then the more recent one, Death on the Nile. And both of them have lots of action and intrigue and mystery and some comedy. And so this movie by far is much darker than those 2. And so well done. I enjoyed all 3 of them. All right, that's it for my review. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me, and I hope that my reviews are helpful. If they are, give it a thumbs up or comment down below or subscribe. All of those actions help me to grow my little channel because they spread YouTube magic fairy dust all over my channel so more people can find it. And that's my goal. All right, so have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.